Here are the top stories for today, July 8, 2021. Sparing no effort, President Rodrigo Duterte maintains he is doing his best to eradicate corruption in government under his watch. The Health Department says local government units can implement measures for fully vaccinated travelers, such as negative swab test results, before granting them entry. The country administers some 5.4 million COVID-19 jabs in June alone. Around 16 million vaccine doses are expected this month, which is set to boost the country's inoculation drive. And the Commission on Elections seeks more voters in next year's polls. This time, it will bring voter registration activities in malls. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Corruption remains one of the biggest challenges in the government. As such, the Duterte administration remains steadfast in its bid to curb corruption and irregularities in government service. The details from Laid Cabagani.
President Rodrigo Duterte has assured the public that he is trying his best to eradicate corruption in government under his watch. During his meeting with the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban executives in Malacanang, President Duterte admitted that the corruption allegations of Senator Manny Pacquiao made him very angry. The senator earlier named the Departments of Social Welfare, Health, Energy, and Environment as corrupt-ridden agencies.
I've been trying really my very best to curb corruption. Hindi ko maalis yan overnight. But I have made a little progress in terminating, dismissing individuals. I cannot abolish offices, but I can dismiss employees for their malfeasance.
Meanwhile, President Duterte is proud of having taken down the country's oligarchs over the past 5 years of his administration. He said going after the oligarchs is one of his achievements he can be proud of. And despite being against online gambling in the country, the president said he was forced to allow the activity to boost the country's COVID-19 response funds. He said allowing gambling operations was the most sensible thing to do considering the government is running short of funds. Duterte, however, said he is still against gambling in the barangay level, noting that it would be more difficult to control.
Now, itong sugal, bakit ko pinayagan? Wala tayong pera eh. Kaya sinabi ko yung noon na tinanggihan ko na kasino sa Bohol, pinasira ko lahat. Diyan sa Boracay, ganun rin. But ngayon, kasi kailangan natin ng pera, the most sensible thing is really just to encourage those activities.
For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Cabagani.
Friend to all and enemy to none, this independent foreign policy of President Rodrigo Duterte stands true, especially at this time of pandemic. During his meeting with PDP Laban party mates, President Duterte conveyed anew his gratitude to China for providing the country with COVID-19 vaccines, some of which were given for free. He said China's Sinovac COVID-19 vaccines were the first brand of vaccines to arrive in the country last February. He also denied that this administration has befriended China because of what the East Asian nation could give.
They offered to help. If the aid is coming, good. If not, okay lang rin sa akin. Because we do not make friends in anticipation of what they can give to us. That is that's stupid. We make friends because we just like to be friends.
Despite having developed closer ties with China, President Duterte said it did not mean that it has abandoned his relationship with the United States. He said the Philippines would be put in much danger if war breaks out, considering the U.S. is nearest to Chinese outposts in the South China Sea.
So I made friends with China But I never abandoned a relationship with America. Wala naman akong sinabing masakit sa kanila. Pero yung the Filipinos must realize na ang Amerikano nandito not because they want to defend us. Ito yung battleground nila. So nandito sila. Instead of fighting it out in the state of California, they would rather do it here in the Philippines. Kung may battleground man tayo.
Filipino scientists are urged to work double time to develop our COVID-19 vaccines. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier described the possibility of having COVID-19 vaccines produced in the country as an answered prayer. President Duterte said he believes the Filipino scientists can produce COVID-19 vaccine as he orders all appropriate agencies to hasten the processing of requirements. Currently, the Department of Science and Technology is in talks with potential local vaccine manufacturers in planning for the local production of the jabs.
Our scientists must work double the time to mag-isip talaga kayo. If you have to pour your, matutunaw yung utak ninyo, you must come up with something to help the Filipino. We cannot be dependent, ill afford to just sabihin doon sa mga ibang tao na bigyan mo kami, bigyan mo dito. That cannot go on. We must develop
COVID-19 vaccination continues in different evacuation centers in Batangas as Taal volcano has been under alert level 3. More than 1,000 families were evacuated following Taal's phreatomagmatic eruption on July 1. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said the local government in Batangas continues to implement the minimum health and safety protocols in evacuation centers.
Patuloy pa rin ang ating programang makapagbigay ng bakuna sa ating mga kababayan. Sa katunayan, naglaan ang NCR ng 3,000 at 500 bakuna para sa evacuation centers sa Batangas para sa ating mga kababayang nais magpabakuna habang pansamantalang nakatira sa mga pasilidad na inilaan ng LGU.
5. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said it is still too early to put a timetable on when COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted. He said the country has yet to vaccinate a large part of its population and the current situation justifies the need for it. Lorenzana said they are heeding the recommendation of health experts, especially the doctors who know the characteristics of these viruses. He said restrictions will remain until we vaccinate at least 50% of our population. Local government units can still require a negative swab test result on fully vaccinated travelers as a requirement for entry into their jurisdictions. The Department of Health, or DOH, says their previous resolution on the entry requirement remains in effect. This after some local government units expressed concern over the new resolution relaxing domestic travel protocols. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases earlier approved a resolution allowing vaccination cards as a sufficient requirement before travel or upon arrival at LGU of destination. Aklan Governor Florencio Miraflores said Boracay is retaining its RT-PCR requirement for tourists even to those fully inoculated. He said there is a high risk of getting fake vaccination cards because even RT-PCR test results have been tampered with before. For those longing to wander around the country, Baguio City is open but with additional entry requirements. Meanwhile, it is a different story for Sagada as its doors remain closed to tourists. The details from Chris Crismundo.
In Baguio City, online registration for non-residents is still required when entering the city. The local government says the requirement stands even for fully vaccinated individuals. Meanwhile, students and their drivers claiming that their trip to Baguio is just a drop-off are also required to show proof of enrollment in an institution allowing face-to-face, a QR code tourist pass, and Visita online application. Meanwhile, Sagada is still closed to tourists. Mayor James Pooten said they will partially open the town by September. Sagada has been closed to tourists and non-essential travelers since the declaration of the lockdown in March last year. And Boracay City is all set to receive more tourists as the local government rolls out the inoculation of workers in the famous destination. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said they are targeting to vaccinate all the 17,000 tourism workers who were listed during the pre-pandemic period, while the rest are residents of the island. She said more tourism workers want to get vaccinated to be protected as they expect the influx of tourists in their area. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Still to come, the country's vaccine czar says some 5.4 million COVID-19 jabs have been administered in June alone. And the number of closed businesses due to pandemic restrictions have decreased. Details ahead, this is the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. The government is not holding up vaccine supply for the private sector. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said the hounding issue is not true as the National Task Force even decided to augment the private sector's allocation of up to 50,000 doses, keeping only 150,000 doses for the national government. Galvez said the Philippines has secured a total of 20 million doses of Moderna vaccines, with 13 million of them procured by the government and 7 million doses purchased by various private companies. The private sector procured Moderna vaccines are tentatively scheduled to arrive within the third quarter of this year. He said 49,600 doses of Moderna will be given to them on top of the 99,600 doses in June. To date, Galvez said over 1 million individuals belonging to the A4 priority groups have received COVID-19 vaccine shots. The Philippines administered almost 5.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines in June alone, hitting the 12 million mark at this time. Another 72,000 doses of the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine arrived at the Davao International Airport on Wednesday. The vaccines are immediately brought to the Department of Health in Region 11 for storage and distribution in the region. In a statement, the DOH-11 said the vaccines are for the first dose and second dose of the A1 or medical frontliners, A2 or senior citizens, A3 or persons with comorbidities, and A4 or essential frontliners and uniformed personnel in the region. Currently, the region has received nearly 835,000 doses of COVID-19 jabs. Meanwhile, 2 more swab sites are opened in Davao City to hasten coronavirus testing and to improve the turnaround time of RT-PCR test results. City Health Office Acting Head Dr. Ashley Lopez said the swabbing centers are located in Barangay Ilang Tibungco and Shanghai Gym in Matina, Aplaya. They are expected to improve the city's testing capacity by 1,000. The swabbing sites at the Santa Ana Health Center, Magsaysay Park, and Crocodile Park are still operational. Also in Davao City, over 52,000 Davaoenos there have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 as of July 4. The city has administered over 300,000 doses of COVID-19 jabs from different brands. Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio said she is very optimistic that the city's vaccination drive will slow down the number of COVID-19 cases. The National COVID-19 Task Force promised to send more vaccines to Davao City, especially in areas frequently experiencing a surge in COVID-19 cases. The national government has sent fresh supplies of the COVID-19 vaccine to Antique on Tuesday, composed of 2,400 vials of Sputnik V. The Integrated Provincial Health Office said the fresh vaccine will be enough to inoculate 2,400 eligible individuals. It said Sputnik V, which has to be administered in 2 doses, has an efficacy rate of 100% for moderate to severe cases of COVID-19. Since the vaccine is considered highly sensitive, rural health units are encouraged to have a master list of recipients. Meanwhile, an orientation for municipal health officers from the towns of Aninii, Tobias Fornier, Hamtic, San Jose de Buenavista, Belison, Sibalom, San Remigio, and Patnogon will be held on July 9 for the administration of the Gamaleya vaccine. As of July 6, Antique has 318 active cases, close to 2,000 recoveries, and 115 deaths. The health sector in Lanao del Sur is now equipped with a modern mobile clinic turned over to the provincial government to save more lives during emergencies and calamities. The turnover ceremony of the mobile clinic was held at the Lanao del Sur Provincial Capitol grounds on Wednesday. Dr. Bashari Latif, Minister of the Ministry of Health, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, said more of such vehicles would be distributed to other health stations of the region soon. The MOH-BARMM also turned over barangay health workers' kits, information technology devices, and communication equipment to the Provincial Public Information Office. Lanao del Sur Governor Mamintal Alonto Adyong Jr. has lauded the MOH and all health frontliners for their generosity and genuine passion to uplift the medical capacity of component areas of the region. Over 3,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines arrive in Ilocos Sur and Ilocos Norte for the continuing mass vaccination of their residents. On Wednesday afternoon, the Department of Health in Region 1 dispatched at least 2,000 doses of Gamaleya Sputnik vaccine to be shared equally by Ilocos Sur and Ilocos Norte for the first dose administration. Over 1,100 additional Sinovac vaccines were also sent to Ilocos Norte health units who will be administering the second dose to those who belong to the priority A1, A2, and A3 categories. As of June, Dr. Rogelio Balbag, Provincial Health Consultant of Ilocos Norte, said over 62,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines have already been administered to residents. By the end of July, a larger amount of vaccines are expected to arrive in the province, including the 120,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines that the provincial government has pre-ordered in early February. And in our business news, the number of enterprises that closed their operations amid the COVID-19 pandemic went down to 10% in June. Establishments that are fully operational in June were at 44%, while those not yet in full capacity was at 46%. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the easing of community quarantine restrictions has allowed more businesses to resume their operations. When the NCR Plus was under enhanced community quarantine and modified ECQ, closed businesses climbed to 16%. However, June numbers are still far prior to the reimposition of ECQ and MECQ in the NCR Plus. Closed businesses in March were only at 4.3%, those in partial operation at 39.3%, and those in full operation at 56.4%. The trade chief said the latest unemployment rate in June at 7.7% showed that the impacts of the pandemic have eased as the economy reopens. Up next, the Comelec is bringing voter registration activities in malls. And Spanish striker Bienvenido Marañón is now a Filipino citizen. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The palace warned the public against groups and individuals claiming to be part of telecom company Dito Telecommunity and collecting money by using names of government officials. In a complaint sent to the office of the president, a private citizen claimed that some groups and individuals are collecting fees using the name of Secretary Leoncio Evasco Jr., presidential advisor on streamlining of government processes. The fee was supposed to grant persons the right-of-way indemnity payment for the construction of Dito Telecom towers within affected residences. The individuals who go by the names of David Sean Garcia, Alex Dumay, and Alimoden Sangkopan are affiliated with Geo Dumay SAQ and Permitting Team, a joint venture between Dumay Builders and Geotech Document Facilitation Services. Evasco said he is not connected in any way with the group. The public is urged to report this scheme and other unauthorized transactions to the Presidential Complaint Center or the Anti-Fraud Division of the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI. The Commission on Elections will soon hold voter registration in malls nationwide. The poll body is set to sign a memorandum of agreement with Robinson's Land Corporation on July 12 for the setting up of voter registration booths. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez said this is to give the public an accessible and efficient registration experience while providing alternative satellite registration sites. The registration booths will be established in selected Robinson's malls in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, North Luzon, South Luzon, Central Visayas, Western Visayas, Eastern Visayas, and in Mindanao. Satellite registration sites in malls will accept a limited number of applicants daily. Only applications from residents will be accommodated. Meanwhile, applicants who have a QR code from the Comelec mobile app will be entertained if the locality of the mall is among the pilot areas for the app. In our news overseas, Haiti President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated in an attack at his private residence on Wednesday. Interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph said a group of unidentified people who are primarily speaking Spanish were responsible for the attack. First Lady Martine Moïse was also injured and later taken to a hospital for treatment. Joseph condemned the heinous, inhumane, and barbaric attack and urged all citizens to remain calm as security forces in the country are controlling the case. The country will meantime hold 2 weeks of national mourning until July 22nd. Moïse died amid rising instability in Haiti as the tiny Caribbean island of nearly 12 million people suffered political issues, crime, and an economic crisis exacerbated by the COVID-19 outbreak. And in sports, Spanish striker Bienvenido Morejon Marañón has been granted Filipino citizenship in a new law signed by President Rodrigo Duterte. Republic Act No. 11570 was signed after naturalization bills were approved concurrently by the House of Representatives last February 16 and the Senate on March 15. Once his naturalization is completed, Marañón will be able to play with the Philippine Azkals in international competitions. In a congressional hearing that deliberated his naturalization in February, Marañón said he wanted to be part of Philippine football's development. Meanwhile, outside hitter Calais Mao can now join the Philippine women's volleyball team as a local player. The Philippine National Volleyball Federation received a letter from the International Volleyball Federation, or FIVB, approving her transfer of eligibility. The 6'2" Phil-American spiker was listed in the Philippine lineup for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games in Pasig, but was barred due to her affiliation with USA Volleyball. The PNBF also announced that Jorge Sosa de Brito has been granted a Philippine visa. This means he can now travel to the Philippines to join the national team in training. Creamline coach Ty Bundit has been cleared to join the coaching staff after he secured an exemption from the temporary suspension of visa issuance. Here is another look at today's biggest stories. Sparing no effort, President Rodrigo Duterte maintains he is doing his best to eradicate corruption in government under his watch. The Health Department says local government units can implement measures for fully vaccinated travelers, such as negative swab test results, before granting them entry. The country administers some 5.4 million COVID-19 jabs in June alone. Around 16 million vaccine doses are expected this month, which is set to boost the country's inoculation drive. And the Commission on Elections seeks more voters in next year's polls. This time, it will bring voter registration activities in malls. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies, Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.